What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Backpacking Podcast. John Kelly here. We are brought to you by Outdoor Vitals. Almost forgot that, Jeremiah. That's a new one for us, right?
Yes, we are here to live ultralight. Outdoor Vitals.
We actually have, for the first time ever, we have a title sponsor for the show. And you probably see it right here. Let me see if I can get my finger in the right spot. Right here, under my finger. The Outdoor Podcast brought to you by Outdoor Vitals. So we're excited to have a partnership with these guys. We've been good friends with Tayson and all the guys over at Outdoor Vitals for a while now, and we trust what they make and the products that they put out, and they definitely have made a heck of a mark on the outdoor industry.
Yes, absolutely excited to continue working with them, and let's rock and roll.
All right, man. Well, hey, I know that pro wrestling's not really your thing, but dude, last night was WrestleMania. Last night was WrestleMania.
Wasn't the whole weekend WrestleMania? They do like a 2 or 3 day show.
Yeah, it's a 2-day show now, and they do the Hall of Fame induction on Friday night, and then Saturday and Sunday is the WrestleMania event. And Cody Rhodes finished the story and beat Roman Reigns. Sorry if I'm spoiling it for people that didn't get to watch, but that's pretty awesome. It was a great night.
I seen there's a lot of promos by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Yeah, he was there. He was there this weekend. He wrestled.
You know, I don't think I told you this. I actually have a class pet. For those that don't know, I'm a high school math teacher, and one of my students brought me a rock. And so, what do we do to this rock? Well, of course, we taped a picture of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson on it. So now that rock, our class pet, is named Dwayne "The Rock."
Dwayne "The Rock."
Yeah, I'll have to text you a picture of him.
That's fantastic.
We didn't have to work today. We were off for the eclipse, the second one in my lifetime, which somehow has happened.
Yeah.
They told me I wouldn't see another one for like 500 years, but somehow 2 years later, I was still searching around for those glasses.
Yep, and there's the shot I got with my phone today. That's the best I could get, man. We had so many clouds out here in central Kentucky. It was supposed to rain most of the day anyway, so it wasn't the best viewing for it. But my kids got to see a little bit, which is cool, getting to see them get excited. You know, 6 and a 7-year-old.
Yeah,
They get excited when they see that stuff.
Kind of where we live in Kentucky, it's like 99 to 99.5% totality. So for those people that are just listening, John put up a picture. I guess you took that picture through the glasses. They're totally opaque.
No. I played with the settings on the camera on my phone.
Oh,
I've got
really?
a camera app on the phone. You can drop the exposure way down. So that's just a straight picture with the camera on my phone.
That's exactly what it looked like through the sunglasses.
Yep, that's exactly what it looks like. So, okay, Jeremiah, we're done talking about that now. Now let's talk about something that's kind of funny. I mean, depends on who you are. John Calipari finalizing a 5-year deal with Arkansas to leave Kentucky. Jeremiah, what's your reaction?
It's been a good run, Cal. Really enjoyed the first 10 years. Not so much on the last 4 or 5. Weren't super great. Didn't perform, and you know what happens when you don't perform? You get the old boot.
Yep. And he didn't have to wait for the boot. He got out before he got booted.
Well, I got to tell you, most people probably don't care about my reaction, but I will tell you. He's an ego man, and I think it saves face a little bit to not have to get the boot, because next year, if look, backpacking with Jason, a fellow cat lover himself. Thank goodness Cal is gone. No love lost between Jason and Cal, or Jason and Mississippi, for that matter. Actually,
yeah.
Doesn't care much for the state of Mississippi.
Well, I think it's funny that he's leaving for Arkansas. Like, usually if you're going to leave Kentucky of your own volition, you're going to go to like UCLA or North Carolina or Duke or Kansas, or you're going to go to some big school. He went to Arkansas.
I'll say my piece on this. You know, before we hired the drunk,
Billy
we go
Gillespie.
good, great drunk. Good, great drunk. Before we hired the drunk, I will tell you, we had Tubby Smith. He won a championship, but by the time he left, they started calling him 10-loss Tubby. So you start losing 10 games at Kentucky. That's not performance.
You know, He won more tournament games than John Calipari did over his last 4 years.
Oh, I don't even know where he is. He was at Minnesota.
I'm just saying when he was at Kentucky.
Oh, yeah. When he's at Kentucky.
Just saying. Here's the thing. We're not a basketball show.
No, we're not sports show. We're not Eclipse show.
We're in a backpacking show. And one of the requests already is I'm hoping this show talks about trail pizza. And I'm going to be honest with you. We talked to our guests. We saw this during the countdown. And I don't know. Maybe not. But there's that. Also, Jeff Peters giving a shout out to the shirt. Now, Jeremiah, this is what merch looks like. Okay, let me pull this off here so people can see.
It says
hike, eat, sleep, poop. It's the daily pattern of the hiker. You hike all day, you eat, you sleep, you get up, you poop, and you do it all over again. Am I right?
Yeah, which one's your favorite?
Just depends on the day. But hey, these shirts are for sale on my YouTube channel. So if you guys want to pick those up, Jeremiah doesn't have merch, but I do. So
these words are true.
Just saying, and it's been out for a while, so you guys should come check it out. But Jeremiah, we should quit talking about other things, and we need to get our guest on here because she's the real reason everybody's here. We already have 65 comments in the comments, and we just got started. Darwin's here. What's up, Darwin? Just had a great he just had a great video comparing the Z-Pac's offset tent with the Durston gear. That was a really, really good review of the two tents. So you guys ought to go check that out. I'm a big Durston fan myself, so definitely go check that out. But anyways, with that said, there's somebody here that everybody actually wants to listen to, and it's not us. So let's bring in Aaron, the backcountry foodie. How are we doing today?
Hey, good. I'm glad to be here. I've already been chuckling in the background because I'm a fellow Kentuckian.
Well, I was going to say, we just found out as we started this whole thing, you're from Paris, Kentucky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, born and raised in Kentucky.
That's just crazy. Okay. That's 15 minutes from where I work. Yep. So that's crazy.
Went to UK, went to plenty of rep games. We actually went to the NCAA tournament several times. It was early 90s, so it was a long time ago. But we were actually pretty good back then.
Don't say that. That was not that long ago.
Years. Now, do you keep up with anything UK basketball related? I assume not.
Not anymore.
Okay. Well, then we won't dive any deeper into the Calipari saga. So, we're having you on here, and I have like a whole bunch of questions because according to your Instagram, which is backcountry_foodie, and that's spelled IE, foodie with an IE. It says that you are an ultralight backpacking and recipe meal planner and a nutritionist. Mm-hmm. So I assume you're highly qualified to answer all these questions. Don't know if we'll get to all of them, but before we do, can you give us a little background on, basically how you come into this position? It's not a typical job that people have.
No, I made it up. So I had a midlife crisis back in 2017 when I was turning 40 and decided I had been a clinical dietitian for 16 years and working in hospitals. And we were talking pre-show that I was commuting 2 hours each way. I lived in Seattle at the time. So I just hit a point where I was burned out and decided I wanted to hike the PCT. So it was kind of in preparation for the PCT that I started panicking about, I'm a dietitian. I started panicking about food, because I'd only ever hiked 3 to 5 days at a time back then. So I'd only ever eaten was Mountain House. So I quickly did the math, and I couldn't afford Mountain House for 5 months, nor did I want to eat that amount of sodium. So then I started looking at DIY, making my own food.
Well, it also doesn't help that it tastes awful. I'm just saying it.
Shots fired.
Listen, do I ever mince words about Mountain House on this podcast ever?
Not once.
No. I think I'm going to make a video, and it's going to show you the proper way to eat a Mountain House. And I'm going to go through the whole thing. You're going to open the thing, you're going to pour it in, boil it, and then you're going to take it and dump it in the fire.
Dump it. I haven't eaten a commercially prepared meal since then.
Wow. How many years ago is that now?
7.
Wow, that's impressive. Yeah. That's impressive.
So I started making my own food, and then with the cookbooks that were available at the time didn't do what it needed to do nutritionally. So then I started prepping all my own meals, and that's where the ultralight came about, is that I needed the food to weigh as little as possible, be as nutritious as possible, small as possible. So then it just, after preparing food for that trip, it just took off. And 7 years later, I have an online platform with 2,500 members that are using my recipes around the world now. So we have a meal planning platform. And then, well, you see all these boxes behind me. This is my resupply service. So now I support hikers as a
Wow.
trail mom, essentially, as I ship resupply boxes to hikers all across the country. And then we have a shop now. So I'm actually making the food and selling it too.
That's
Wow.
incredible.
If I was going to be resupplied, let's say I was just at a random point on one of these longer trails, what would be just a typical what goes in the goodie box that's going to be sent to me?
Oh gosh, it could be any number of things. So typically a breakfast, lunch, and dinner, usually, and we have one day meal kits already pre-made out, so you don't even have to think about it. So the meal kit has breakfast, lunch, and dinner, 6 snacks, and a chocolate dessert in it. And that's about 3,500 calories. And then if you need more calories, then we have what I call calorie booster bundles, is you just add on another 500 calories, another 500 until you get to what your nutrition goal is for yourself.
But is it just random? Is it random food that you put in there? Let's be a little bit more specific. So let's say for breakfast, for instance, what would be a
So
typical breakfast I'm going to make?
Oh gosh, let's see. The ones that are in there, I've got a berry breakfast crumble, I've got a banana bread oatmeal, and I've got a mixed berry oatmeal in there right now. And then I do a lot of cold soak. So no cook, I've got a hummus, I've got a bean and cheese dip, a Mexican chip dip, 3 different kinds of couscouses, 3 different kinds of ramens, and then I have a strawberry chia pudding for dessert.
And is it
And
freeze
then I
dried?
have It's all dehydrated. It's all dry ingredients based. So I have a really simple commercial food license to where I just dump dry ingredients in a bag, zip it up, and it's done. I didn't go into buying freeze dryers and dehydrators and all those things. So it's a really simple process. And what I'm really known for are my meal replacement shakes. Because once you get up to eating 5,000 calories, I get tired of chewing. So I just want to drink my nutrition. I can't eat anymore. I'm just tired of chewing, which is
Yeah.
a funny thing to say. But I'm really well known for my shakes. Is you add 8 ounces of water in the packet, shake it up, and then down the hatch, and you're done. You've had 600 or 700 calories in 8 ounces.
Wow. That's impressive. We're getting comments left and right now. So I want to get into some of these. And
Okay.
the first one I want to show you is Backpackerish got on here and said, your site and recipes are fantastic. Thanks for being an amazing resource. So
Awesome.
you've already got some fans. And then comes the Mountain House stuff. So Mr. Backpacking with Jason says Mountain House equals poop time. Kevin Munson says Mountain House would be the one reason I'd stop backpacking. Let's see. We've got Mountain House is what I eat when I really want to deep dive into hatred of myself. Fun fact, every Mountain House meal is guaranteed to give you diarrhea. So yeah, so people are really into Mountain House on this channel.
Yeah.
So what's the main problems with the Mountain House, by the way? Just your opinion. You said you totally rejected them on the PCT.
Well, being an ultralight backpacker, like I said, I want everything to be as small as possible. As I feel like a lot of the Mountain House products, they use instant rice as a filler, and there's very little nutrition in there. It just takes up a lot of space. So my way of being ultralight is I use food that has carbs, protein, and fat in every single bite. So ultimately, your food is a lot smaller instead of having all this extra filler that you don't really need. That's not providing the nutrition.
Nice.
Gotcha.
Nice. Darwin on the Trail just said, body by couscous. There you go. There you go. So, okay. Now, one of the things that I've noticed that you have touted from reading your stuff, and I've listened to you on a couple other podcasts, you say you can actually give people more calories, better calories at less weight, basically. So how is it you pull this off?
Like I was just saying, is that if you maximize every single bite, so if you choose foods that have, I call it combination foods. So if there's a combination of carbs, protein, and fat in every bite, then you're getting all that nutrition in one thing. An example of not being a combination food would be like a tuna packet. It's going to be your protein source. There's no carbs in it, and it's very low fat. So to get carbs, now you have to add on the tortilla. Well, the tortilla doesn't have a lot of protein in it, so that's where the tuna comes in. And then now you need some fat, so then you have to add on mayonnaise or whatever, cheese, whatever source. So you have 3 different foods that are heavy and take up a lot of space versus something I always talk about in my podcast is quinoa. is I think it's underutilized because it has carbs, protein, and fat. It's tiny, it's pliable. You can fit it in the nooks and crannies of your backpack, and you're just going to get so much more nutrition in a small amount of space.
Now, when you're putting food together for people that are going on trail, are you doing that based on dietary restrictions too? Like, do they give you those and you kind of work with that as well?
So I don't pick and choose the food. If I'm a coach, I have coaching customers ahead of the season. So if that's the case, then we go through and pick up a meal plan for them. But a lot of my customers are members, so they've gone in and done all the meal plans inside our membership site, and then they pick and choose based on the meal plans that they've come up with. But that's part of what I do too, as I teach how many carbs do you need, how do you know how much protein you need, and how do you lighten your food weight. So that's part of what I do outside of like the shop and the resupply service.
Okay, very cool. The reason I ask, I'm actually, I started taking semaglutide shots last year. I weighed this time a year ago. I weighed about 300 pounds,
Oh
and
wow.
so I'm working trying to get weight down. I'm down almost 70 pounds at this point.
Wow.
And so, but I can't eat fat. If I eat fat, it makes me sick. So that's why I was asking: are there options where if I was say I was to contact you and say, "Hey,
Mhm.
here's my situation, but I want to do what you're doing. How can I best do that?" Would you be able to help someone like me who's dealing with something like that?
So yes, so that would be like under the nutrition coaching service where I use my dietitian skills. So we would work one-on-one with your dietary restrictions and those kind of things. And like I make food for celiac hikers that have severe sensitivity to gluten.
Oh
So I
wow,
have
yeah.
five hikers right now that I make all their food for them because they can't get it out on trail, or at least not as safely. They're worried about it not being there. So that I do specifically. But yeah, that's interesting that fat does it give you diarrhea? We're going to talk poop. So,
Well, let me just tell you something. The simple answer to that is yes.
okay.
And trust me, I learned that the hard way.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, uh, the way they work is it slows down digestion. And if you know anything about about fat, you're a dietitian. But
Mhm.
fat, when it sits, it's not good. Fat needs to digest and go. But
Mhm.
if you're slowing down your digestion and all that fat is sitting in there, yeah, it doesn't go well. The semaglutide burps are something else. Let me tell you, I can
Ooh,
clear a
yeah.
room with a burp. It's
Oh, wow.
unreal. So yeah, just to make everything to make this a more interesting podcast, let's talk about how bad my breath can be at times. Um, but yeah, so I was just curious about something like that because I know for me, I am struggling to figure out what I'm going to eat on my next trip. I'm going on a trip in about a week and a half. I'm going with a bunch of people to the Red River Gorge here in Kentucky, and I'm really trying to figure out the food for 3 days. For one day, I can eat a little extra fat and won't be that big of a deal, but for 3 days, I can't. I can't do that. I'm gonna be sick, and
Do you know how
it'll be
many
too much
grams
fun.
of fat per day you can tolerate, or is it essentially a no fat diet?
I shoot for less than 20.
Oh, that's pretty low. Okay.
Yeah, I shoot for less than 20, if I
So
can.
things like nuts, do nuts because they're a higher fat content food, do they bother you too?
Yeah, anything with fat tends
Okay.
to be an issue. So
That's tough. Yeah, your food's going to be heavier because the carbs are lower calories than fat, which you know.
right,
So
right.
you're going to have to actually carry quite a bit more food to make up the calories that what I typically use in my meal plans is using so much fat to make up the calories.
Yeah, and also with the fact that digestion slowed down, I don't burn calories as quickly either.
Right.
So it's going to be I'm going to have to eat probably a little bit all the time throughout the day as opposed to having a big meal. I think if I have a big meal, I'm probably going to get sick. So I'll probably have to do little meals throughout the day in order to be able to handle that. So
Shakes might be a good idea for you. They're easy.
you might be right. You might be
Use
right.
we actually on our website we've got a couple. You could use non-fat milk powder instead of whole milk powder.
Oh yeah, that's a great
That might
idea.
actually be an option.
Yeah,
I
selfishly,
was
that's why I wanted you on here because I need to figure all this out. I figure I can get free consulting if I put her on the podcast.
No.
That's really all this is. It's a personal consulting thing. That's all it
Yeah.
is.
That's good timing. I'm looking at your website here on the backpacking resupply service, and we were just talking about it. Do you have everything from, hey, I'm just going on a weekend trip to, hey, I'm doing a 7-day to, hey, I'm, heading out to do one of these long trails for months at a time. Do you have all of those options available on here?
If you need help getting food to your hike, I help. So I have people that are like, I'm too busy, I don't like to cook, those guys, I don't have a support person, then I help. There's other people, like I was saying, the celiac hikers that are just really nervous about not having access to food, then I help them with that. So it's really a customized service because everybody and hikers generally have all different needs. So it just kind of depends on what your needs are. Then I figure out how I can help and how much I help. Some people need me 1 or 2 boxes because there isn't something there. Other people are like, I don't want to think about the food, and I do every single resupply for the entire, let's say it's something like the PCT. So it's a wide variety of things.
It's interesting that you say celiac because I over the summer had done the Camino de Santiago with my wife, and we kind of had a little trail family going. And one of the people in the trail family, she had celiac, and it made it very, very difficult. Especially, she's from the DC area. It made it really difficult, being in a different country and having to eat their food and having celiac. Do you do international stuff as well?
With helping ship food internationally, is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
I can't because of all the customs issues with food.
Okay.
That makes sense.
So yeah, no, I have a ton of hikers coming in internationally that don't know about our food that I help with those kind of things, but outbound I can't do.
I was
Okay.
going to say, you'd probably be really useful for someone coming in from another country
Majority of
and
my
helping
hikers
them
are
out.
international. Yeah.
Yeah, that would make sense because, they don't know where to get food or what to get when they get here. And a
Right.
lot of stuff you just can't bring on planes with you anymore.
Right.
So that makes all the sense in the world. I never even thought of that, but I could see where you'd have a huge international audience of
Well,
people
and I
that would be
do
there.
gear shipments too. Part of the Trail Mom is that I ship gear back and forth. So a lot of hikers, if you need like your Sierra gear, switch back and forth for the PCT. Or one of my favorite stories is last year, one of my hikers sent me a message, and we communicate via Garmin because I know you don't have cell service. As he sent me a message, I just ripped a huge hole in my pants. Can you please get me a new pair of pants and my next resupply point? So that's part of what I coordinate is I get the pants, get them sent to wherever they need, and so they can keep moving on, kind of thing.
Logistics specialist.
Yeah.
That's impressive. That's
What
impressive.
what would you say is one of the most difficult or complicated executions that you had to do when it comes to resupplying somebody or getting them the gear that they need or something like that? Anything ever get really complicated and you just got to make it
That
work?
that particular situation is he messaged me on a Saturday. He's like, I just got to Candy Meadows South. I have a huge hole in my pants. I'm a trail leader for 10 hikers and we need to get out tomorrow. So I'm like, alrighty, how am I going to get you some pants by tomorrow?
And
So
how did you
we,
do it?
oh gosh. So I was on the phone all day long trying to find an Uber driver, trying to find a UPS, a courier. I mean, I was trying to figure it out all day long. He was like, I need my pants. I'll pay out whatever it takes for me to get a new pair of pants. So it ended up, I paid all this money to get them there, and it still took like 5 days because the UPS driver goes to Kennedy Meadows when he feels like it instead of
Oh,
when I paid for it. So unfortunately, because I mean, there's so little things up there that they don't want to make that trip, all the time. Is my understanding. So unfortunately, he ended up having to sit there with his trail family. Waited for him because he was a really skilled mountaineer, so they waited for him. But that was kind of the most logistically challenging, I would say. But we got it done.
Wow.
now there's a question in here. I think you answered it already, but I'm going to go and throw it up here because, I just want to put it up here. But it says, which cottage brand of freeze dried meals does she like the most? Do you like any of the cottage brands that are out there?
I
You can
don't
be
like any.
honest. You can be honest. You're not hurting
That's
people's
the
feelings on this
competition.
podcast. You tell the truth. You tell the truth.
I don't like any of them. I seriously have not.
Yeah.
I've tried because I try to help other cottage brands because I'm a cottage food person, and I've tried promoting them and I've taste tested. I just don't like them. So I've made all my own food since 2017.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And it's okay. You don't have to make anybody happy here.
I like their products, like Heather's Choice. I love their packaroons, but I don't necessarily like their other. Let's see, Outdoor Herbivore. I love her hummus, but I don't necessarily like the others. So there are products that they have that I really like, but I haven't found meals that I really will, especially Backpackers Pantry. Ooh, I
Oh,
can't do it. I can't do it.
what
Sorry
about
if anybody works for Backpackers Pantry, but I can't do it.
I honestly, what I've learned is that I kind of pick and choose between a lot of the different companies, except Mountain House. I just don't ignore them entirely. But, um, like Stowaway Gourmet has a bison black bean chili that I've really liked. I think Peak Refuel has some good meals. Now they're probably not nutritious as they need to be for what you're talking about, but they're good as far as the flavor. But you're right, most freeze dried meals just aren't very tasty.
Well, and the Peak Refuel are really popular with my hikers, but they're enormous.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of I mean, they come in a huge package.
Oh
So, whereas
yeah.
my food is a small, most of my food is a cup or less in volume.
And yet
So,
you're still getting the calories you need.
mhm.
That's the craziest thing. That is
Well,
so
and
crazy.
you're talking about who else do I help is the bariatric hikers. Now that you're talking about weight loss, is because
Yeah.
my food is so tiny and has enough protein in it that bariatric hikers are coming to me specifically because now they've lost the weight, they want to be physically active, but they are having diet challenges because their stomach can only hold so much food. And it just happens that my food's designed to do that.
That's interesting. We got backpackers got on here and said, I'd love to hear your opinion on Flat Out Feasts brand out of Canada. Have you heard of them?
Never heard of them.
I haven't either. Now I want to find out who they are.
Flat Out Feast.
Flat Out Feasts.
Flat Out Feast.
That's a new one. We'll have to find out about that one. Delta Safari had a really cool comment on here. Man, that looks hard to read as all get out, doesn't it?
I can't read.
Says, I don't know why that's so tiny, but we'll kind of run with it. He says, JK, I'm a chef in real life, and as far as cooking at home, you can use evaporated skim milk, thickened cornstarch to make a fairly decent cream sauce to replace Alfredo.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I didn't know that. That's fascinating. Because usually, like, the problem with skim milk is there's no fat, and that's what makes the sauces good.
Right.
That fat.
So before you started this journey with food and the PCT, had you done quite a bit of backpacking before? I don't remember if you had said that.
Well, I started in 2001, but like I said, I'd only ever hiked 3 to 5 days at a time. So I was kind of a weekend warrior, maybe once or twice a year kind of thing. So I'd been day hiking a ton. So that was, but no, I'd never done anything long distance like this. This was literally like quitting my job, hiking the PCT, and I'll figure it out when I get back. So
wow.
Yeah.
It's a big commitment.
And I went by myself. So that was part of it too. I'd never hiked by myself before either. I'd always gone backpacking with other people.
Now, did you get a tramley while you were out there, or?
That's actually one of the reasons why I ended up going home. I got injured because I tried to keep up with my tramley.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I hiked too hard, too fast, and ended up tearing my quad muscle and having to go home. So I now am comfortable. So now that it's multiple years later, I'm comfortable solo backpacking. So I actually now hike by myself more often because I go my own pace. And if I happen to run into people, and we'll stick with them for a little while, but if I'm not feeling good or if I'm feeling really good and I adjust my pace, then I'm really comfortable hiking by myself now.
That's awesome.
I want to talk more about the weekend warrior here in just a second, but I had a couple other questions about your PCT. Mm-hmm. Were you going north or southbound, and where did you start?
Started at Campo, went northbound.
Okay. Is that the border of Mexico?
It's the border. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And how many days did you stay out there?
I think I only made it to Brightwood, which is, I think, 385-ish miles. I think it was just under 30 days or so that I did it. And then ended up.
Go ahead.
Oh, then actually, that's how I got my trail name. Is on the PCT. My posture was so bad that I was hunched over carrying my backpack that I screwed up my shoulder and ended up having to use my tent footprint to make a sling around my shoulder. So my trail name is Sling. Nobody knows that because everybody knows me as Foodie, but my trail name is actually Sling from carrying my shoulder with a tent footprint. And then I was walking out the very last day with my backpack like a purse on my other arm because I couldn't carry it on this arm.
That had to be the most uncomfortable hiking on the planet.
It was horrible. Yeah, but I was stubborn. I was like, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going until the last day. I was like, my friends were like, you can't carry your backpack to Washington on your right hand, on your, like a purse. I'm like, okay, you're right. So then I went home, rehabbed, and then jumped on the AT right at Harper's Ferry because I'd made 5 months worth of food. I'd quit my job. I was like, well, might as well hike, I'm in shape. And then that's when I met up with the bubble that was going on the AT. And that's when I ended up hurting my quad because they were all really fit. And I'd been at home for 3 weeks rehabbing my shoulder. So I made it to Massachusetts, about 500 miles on the AT. Until then, I literally, the very last day, I was sitting on the side of the road in the rain, crying my eyes out because I couldn't walk. So It was a horrible, and watching people drive by, and here I'm getting, pouring down rain. And I was just like, somebody just please pick me up. It's one of those kind of situations.
Been there.
Did you get picked up by a Subaru driver?
Actually, yes.
No way. It is.
Yes.
I don't
Is it
believe it.
possible somebody in a Subaru picked someone up?
I don't think
Yes,
so.
actually, it was probably a really beat up like 1980 something Subaru, but yeah, some dude. I kept watching these women and their
Wow.
minivans just driving by, and I'm like, I promise I'm harmless. Just please give me a ride. And
Oh,
some dude in a broken down Subaru comes in, and normally I'd be like, okay, kind of sketchy, some dude that I don't know, but I was so desperate just to get out of the rain that I was like, hope I get there.
so Jeremiah last week. It was last week, wasn't it?
Because last week I have a vendetta.
Last week he says he has a vendetta against people in Subarus because nobody in a Subaru will ever pick him up when he's hitchhiking.
Oh wow, no, it's actually a green Subaru. I remember it clearly.
Oh,
Jeremiah
Subaru station
proved
wagon.
wrong the next week. This isn't even something that got time to like percolate and go for like a few months. This is the next week, Jeremiah. Oh man, Calipari leaves. You find out that Subaru people aren't evil. This is crazy, man.
my world is falling apart.
Crazy. I will tell you, I had to hitchhike last summer. I was hiking and I messed my foot up really bad, and so I went to what's it called, the Glady Information Center or whatever it's called there.
Dinner.
Yeah, I went there, and there's this lady there, and I walked up to her. She had her and kid were there, and now I'm a minister, so I'm about the least harmful person you'll ever have to worry about in your entire life. Like if there's one person you're probably okay picking up, it's going to be me. But I smelled awful. I looked awful. I was covered in, like, my knees all the way down were covered in mud. And I walk up to this lady and go, ma'am, would it be possible to get a ride just down to the south end of the gorge? And she just gets this panic look on her face, and she goes, I don't think we're going that way. And so I'm like, oh, it's okay. Don't worry about it. It's fine. So I take off and I start hiking, and they pass me. Going the way I was going.
Yeah, you know what she was driving?
What's that?
Do you know what she was driving?
I didn't have to. I saw her. I saw her driving the car. It was a minivan, which is what's so funny about the comment, because like it was literally a minivan, and it was that woman. So
that's what I was gonna say. Probably another minivan.
That was just funny. I mean, she got this panic look on her face. I know I probably smelled awful, and but yeah, it's just funny when you said a minivan. I'm like, yep, been there, done that. Been there, done that.
What was the official diagnosis on your quad?
I literally ripped it. I mean, you could see where it was pulled back and ripped. Yeah, and what's funny is I've always been an athlete and always injured. So I get back to my sports medicine doctor, and she's like, "What have you done now?" So fortunately, I couldn't do anything but go to physical therapy, and then just eventually healed.
So what sports were you in, if you don't mind me asking?
In Kentucky, I was a competitive swimmer for almost 20 years. Yeah.
Wow.
And then I turned into a triathlete, and then a long distance outdoor swimmer or open water swimmer. And then I turned into a trail runner, long distance trail runner, which is kind of where the whole PCT worried about my calories and weight, because I was pretty lean. I'd been running, so I didn't have the extra weight to lose. I already knew that, like, if I can't keep my weight, I was really struggling to keep my weight on just running, 20 miles on a weekend. What am I going to do hiking 20 miles every single day for 5 months?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where my concern about nutrition at the very beginning happened too, because I was already thinking about it.
So what were the physical challenges going from the swimming and trail running into backpacking? Because it's definitely different, but I mean, the other is great for your cardio, getting you there. But what were the things that you probably noticed the most when you went from those things into backpacking?
Well, I did the trail running and backpacking simultaneously for several years. So actually, I was a backpacker first, turned trail runner, because I'm kind of impatient. I'm very much a type A person, so I could get to more places faster when I trail run. So that's kind of why I did that. And then I ended up wanting to do that. Like I said, I just wanted to quit my job and take my time to do the PCT. So it's probably more the posture. Like I said, when I learned, I mean, just being tired and having really bad posture and getting used to carrying the weight, because as a trail runner, you wear very little and you carry very little. So.
Now, I want to ask you real quick about this posture situation.
Mm-hmm.
So, first of all, do you have good posture now?
Can you see? No. I should be sitting like this.
Yeah,
you're making me like making me go, oh, I better sit up straight. Sorry, Jeremiah. Sorry.
Driver in their car right now, listening to this podcast, they're sitting up nice and straight. Everybody good posture. Now, my problem
But I am
is,
really aware of it. I am pay attention to it now when I do hike. I do catch myself and I'm like, okay, you got to keep your shoulders back because otherwise I'm going to get in the same situation that I was in before. So I think about it more when I'm physically active than when I'm sitting or driving, that kind of thing.
right, but my thing is backpacking is like the only time I feel like I have good posture because I'm a tall guy, and one thing that comes along with that, I think, is you slouch a lot. Maybe that's just an excuse that I'm using, but with the backpacking, you have the shoulder straps that are always there, and when I have mine, tightened on me, it kind of pulls my shoulders back a little bit, and I don't know if that just reminds me to have good posture. Look, backpackerish. I think everybody just sat up. That's right. Practice good posture. So I feel like my back feels better and my shoulders and neck after 3 or 4 days on trail just because I've spent at least the time that I'm backpacking, like the time during the day with the pack on, I have good posture. But then here around the house, like last week, I was laying around. And then today I had to go to the chiropractor, get a massage, get snap, crackle, pop. And, I think it's all really from bad posture. Is there anything specific that you did to help cure the problem for you, or at least help assist with getting away from it?
So paying more attention to my posture when I'm backpacking, is that what you were saying?
Well, just in general to like help your posture and just in everyday life. Basically, the goal is to avoid any ailments as a result of bad posture. So,
No, I don't pay attention to it like I should.
well, you
So
don't have to be exhausted. You
I
just
actually caught
Right.
myself the other day. We have a Sprinter van, and I caught myself the other day. I'm like, why am I having a hard time seeing? Because I was like driving like this. I'm like,
I
oh, I can see over that again.
Well, I did read to adjust your mirror where you have to like sit up straight to see out of the back, but I've been trying to do these little exercises that kind of strengthen I guess, the muscles in your back and your core to help you because like people, bad posture is a really underrated, you know, it's not really a disease, but like habit because it'll create impingement in your shoulders. It'll put strain on your neck. It'll change the curvature of your spine. And then whenever you're 80 years old, if we're lucky enough to make it that long, you'll be walking around,
Like the
Well, it
Hunchback of
also
Notre Dame.
can cause severe headaches too. When I first quit my job and started working from home, I didn't have a desk yet. So I was sitting on the couch and being in that slunched over posture on the couch, I actually had severe headaches and it took me forever. I had an MRI. I mean, we thought I had brain cancer. I mean, it was really, really bad. And then I finally went to a chiropractor and he was like, do you realize how bad your posture is? That it was pinching something in the back of my neck. And then
Oh,
as soon as
wow.
he snap, crackle, pocked me and I started paying attention to my posture, my headaches are gone. So I guess I do pay attention to it a little bit when my headaches start again because I realize that I'm just slouching that much.
Wow.
Now, are those chiropractors truly witch doctors? Or are they real doctors?
Oh, they're
I
witch
go to
doctors.
see
They're witch
one.
doctors. It's all mysticism and witch doctory.
We're
No
making a
doubt about it.
pretty
No doubt about it. But it works, so we're okay with it.
It works. We're discriminating against them. I think we just lost some listeners, but that's okay.
I've got several friends that are chiropractors, and I say that to them every time I talk to them.
Well,
It's
I'm
like, "What?
paying the
How's witch?"
chiropractor.
I ask them how their witch doctor work is going, and they're always like, "It's going well. It's going real well."
You
I,
got
I
some
w-
comments you want to put up here?
no, I want to talk to you a little bit about your backpacking meal planner memberships because this is a lot less expensive than I thought it was going to be. I'm going to put this up on the screen so people can see this. Um, because I like the meal planner idea and the way you do this. I mean, you give a shopping list, you've got pictures of the different meals and things, all the different sample meal plans, uh, and the memberships. This was the part that kind of blew my mind. That's not a month, that's a year.
It's cheap.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I mean, seriously, that's incredible. If you're watching right now, I mean, you're not sponsoring this video or anything, but I'll just flat out say it. I'm probably getting one of these.
Yeah, it's a
Well,
good deal.
it's all based on I've done all the work. So essentially it's all the lessons that I've learned on my trips that now I put into an electronic format. So like the sample meal plans, they're all from my AT, PCT, my Oregon Coast Trail trip, my Colorado Trail. So every time I do a big trip, I put those in there as samples. Um, and then the shopping list is the best part of the whole thing, is that you pick out all the foods that you want to eat, including bars
Yeah.
and drinks, that electrolytes, and it tells you exactly how much you need to go shopping for. Like you need 2 cups of this, 3 cups of that, 3 of these bars, 2 of those shakes, and it's awesome. And it fits on your phone too. That's why we have the picture of the phone, is it's a really
Yeah.
narrow, and then you can click on it. And as you're shopping, you can click, and it'll mark them off your list.
Well, and the on-demand masterclass is down here at the
Mm-hmm.
bottom. This is cool. Backpacking Food 101. Don't just eat well, how to avoid hitting the wall. High altitude and cold weather nutrition. That's awesome. Ultralight meal planning, nutrition for bariatric backpackers, mastering backpacking with diabetes. Man, this is some great stuff. And okay, folks, look at this. I mean, I'm not here to sell anything because we're not going to get a kickback from it. But look at this. I mean, $36 a year just for the recipes. That's great. $48 for the meal planner, and then for everything that they have that you have $72. That's awesome.
And you get 10% off the whole shop. So you even get to save money in the shop too.
Shut up. That's awesome.
So I actually have PC Tech hackers that just joined just to get the discount in the shop because they're going to be buying so much food throughout the season.
Yeah, Backpackers is on here going, I told you the site was good. So, yeah, no, that's fantastic. Man, what an awesome setup. Like, again, this is not, guys, this isn't sponsored. We just had her on here because we thought what she does is interesting, and Erin's a cool lady, and she's a Kentuckian, so now she's part of our family. But it's just, that is such an incredible product that you're putting out there for a reasonable price. I mean, it's not expensive to do that. That's unreal. That's unreal. I know memberships that you have for diet memberships and stuff that you're paying that much a month to get all the things that you're offering there. So that's
And the
impressive.
recipes too, I add new ones every single month too. So that's the reason why I get asked a lot of times. Why I made published a cookbook back in 2018, and people asking like, why don't you have another cookbook? It's because I can constantly add new ones to the site instead of waiting until I have another 100 recipes to publish a cookbook. Then I have to wait till I have another 100 to publish a cookbook. So this way, when something comes to me, then I'm like, I load it up into the site, so you guys have it as soon as I make it, kind of thing.
Wow, that's
We live in a
awesome.
great world. The e-product world, I absolutely love because it's a win-win-win. Like you said, there's no waiting. You don't have to wait 4 years for you to go through a publisher and release a new cookbook with all the pictures and recipes. It's literally immediate. I'm looking at your Instagram right now. I do have to say I see some cold soaking on here, and I know you mentioned it earlier, and I think it's pretty disgusting. Care to rebuttal?
Yes, it depends on what you try to soak.
Oh, that's
Hey, okay,
So
give
hilarious.
me
the
the
key
good and bad.
is
And
if
just
you
like that,
use
Erin's like, I'm never going to do this show again.
no, it's fun.
Personal attacks. I'm sorry.
So the key to cold soaking is soak food that's meant to be eaten cold normally. So don't cold
Okay.
soak like a beef stroganoff. I wouldn't personally eat a beef stroganoff cold, but I
I
love
wouldn't
jelly
eat the beef
pasta salad.
stroganoff anyways from any company
Oh,
because it's all
Oh,
cold.
so, but I hear a lot of people though like, oh, cold soaking's terrible. But like a bean dip, black bean dip is super awesome. Hummus is really awesome. Pasta salads are really good cold. Puddings are good cold. Those kind of things. So it's just a matter of choosing foods that are meant to be eaten cold normally, and then that way it's like you're eating your normal food.
Now, is it illegal to cold soak in things other than a peanut butter jar or one of these? What's
Was
the
it Talenti?
yeah
Talenti
jars or
jars.
whatever?
yeah? What's the deal? It's like only peanut butter and Talenti. I don't ever see any other cold soaking containers.
Oh, there's the Vargo
Well,
bot. The Vargo
the
bot.
Vargo bot, I use that now because I also like the combination of being able to cook and cold soak. But the Talenti's nice. The reason why I like it is your hand can actually fit in it, and you can clean the entire bottom. Whereas a lot of peanut butter jars, you can't get your hand in, and they have ridges on the bottom. So then it
Especially if you
eventually
have
ends up,
adult hands.
yeah. So gunk ends up building up if you can't all the way get down to the bottom of it. So the Talenti's are just nice. They're small, and they're easy to clean.
Okay, I don't
Look,
know if this is true or not, but Outside Comfort Zone just said, fun fact, cold soaking was invented at BYU
Oh,
during a snowstorm.
did
Now,
not know
given
that.
some of his posts, I don't know if he's being serious or not, but if he is being serious, that's a pretty interesting fact.
cold soaking. Yeah, I don't believe that. Dude. No, dude. I guess it would depend on the parameters that we put around cold soaking. Maybe they coined the name or something. I don't know.
Spencer Davis gets on here and says, "I love Jeremiah's honesty. That sucks. Care to rebut?"
I told you we're just here for a good time. Personal. Just having fun, talking, looking at your Instagram, wondering about Minty.
And I gotta tell you, your website, everything is done really well. Like, a lot of times you see people that are doing this stuff, and it's like I look at their website, and it looks like Windows 3.1 from 1998, and
Yeah,
I'm just like, "Oh, man, I don't wanna spend money on this because I don't think it looks like there's any real care put in this," but your stuff looks so professional and just,
Graphic designer.
well, you've got a really good designer. I
Yeah.
mean, even the look of your recipes, I'm gonna pull this up so people can see this, but,
Yeah, if you've seen my first website back in 2017, that was one of those kind of sites when I had no idea what I was doing. But
right.
yeah, I've done a lot of research where I understand colors, shapes and all those kind of things to meet your market. I mean, there's a lot of strategy, excuse me, that goes into it.
Yeah, well, everything looks highly professional and very well
Thank
done.
you.
So kudos to you. I mean, it just looks like for someone like me who's really desperately been trying to lose weight, and I'm always looking for more hacks, I guess, and finding something like this that can like streamline the search and streamline the putting together the recipes and stuff. Man, what an awesome thing to have access to. It's just incredible. You're doing a great job with it.
Thank you. Yeah.
So like you need me to
Backpacking
tell you
food's a
that,
weird
but
passion. Like it's who loves backpack? I don't think anybody loves backpacking food more than I do. So I eat better on trail than I do at home.
Well, I was going to
wow.
ask you for the weekend situation.
Mhm.
I wanted to talk to you about that before we run out of time. I think most backpackers are weekend warriors, or maybe they go once or twice a year, or maybe once every few years. Who knows? But for the weekend warriors, I find myself oftentimes whenever I'm going out Friday, Saturday night, I will take, especially lately, real food with me. Nothing that is needing to be cold soaked, and oftentimes not even things that are what I would consider the go-to of some of the backpacking world, like the Noraposticides, that kind of stuff. I've been trying to take, not on purpose that it's heavy, but like fresh fruit, vegetables, that kind of stuff. What would you say is a good in-betweener whenever it comes to the lean green, let me make sure I get the nutrients for the long distance, and the kind of where I'm talking about where you're taking, I mean, a couple of oranges, you're taking avocado, you're taking bread or whatever your grain is, real food, maybe a 1 pound steak. So what's the good in between there? I think that would be a great place for most people to live.
And let's say I think it's kind of depending upon what your goals are as a backpacker. Is if you're totally fine with carrying a heavy amount of food, and that's what I really focus on is enjoying your food. That's part of the whole experience. Nothing's worse than being out there and like really hating the food when you're starving and you become hangry. So that just
yep.
makes the experience that much worse. Backpacking when I first started, I thought it sucked just because it sucked, but it turns out that I just wasn't eating very well. And once I started eating better, I enjoyed it a lot better. So if your goal is to really enjoy your food, sure, take the heavy stuff. If that's going to make you happy. Me being an ultralight backpacker, I'm getting older now too. So the lighter my backpack, the happier my body is. So I still do the really light stuff. So the in between would be if you want to take an orange or an avocado, that kind of thing, but then take the couscous or quinoa that's lighter weight. Take things with nuts in it and that kind of thing, and the whole milk powder. But then still maybe take like real, I don't know, I'm trying to think of some other things like mayonnaise and those tuna packets are a little bit heavier, but if you don't want to deal with dehydrating tuna to make it lighter, then you could still do the tuna packets. So I think it just depends on what your personal goals are for your trip. So what's going to make you happiest?
Yeah. Neil got on here and kind of went with he says, I'll just go with dry, boring food versus cold soaking. Jerky, cheese, nuts. Gets boring, but any cold soaked food always seems weird to me. So that kind of.
Yeah, everybody's different. So I don't think there's one good, bad, or good food or bad food. So whatever's going to make you happiest to make you feel the best, then take it with you.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think that's an interesting thing about your stuff is just the idea of actually eating nutritious on the trail. Because if we're completely honest, most of us here, obviously you're I'm excluding you from this one, but bag of Doritos, some Jeremiah's got his chocolate with him on every single trip. I mean, most of us are going out, we're eating like garbage for a week. And a lot of your backpackers that are doing long trails and stuff, they're eating garbage as well.
Mm-hmm.
They're just basing, hey, well, I'm going to lose all the weight because I'm hiking long distances. But what they don't realize
But
is
the problem is you get home, you haven't made a lifestyle change.
right. You have made a lifestyle change. You've made a worse
Super
lifestyle
early.
change, and you're eating
Yeah.
terrible. Yeah.
Right.
And so it's most of us, when we backpack, if we're just being honest, we don't eat healthy. So the idea of actually trying to take care of yourself when you're on trail is just is kind of revolutionary, really, for a lot of
Yeah.
people.
Well, that's what I teach, is changing your mindset. Is that a lot of my members have said that they went from eating the garbage because they're like, oh, I'm just going out for a weekend, I'll be fine. I'm not going to lose vitamins or those things. But what I was talking about is the better you fuel your body. I like to teach that backpackers are athletes. Because what other sport do you carry a 20 to 35 pound pack? You're climbing thousands of feet of elevation. You're sleeping on the ground, which means you're not sleeping very good. You're doing it day after day. You're out in the rain. No other sports do that. So I like to think of us, we're pretty tough people.
Jeremiah, did you hear that? We're athletes, Jeremiah.
We
are
like
athletes.
to consider us athletes.
Athletes, right here.
That, baby.
This is an athlete right here. Just saying.
So you need to fuel your body like an athlete would. Like,
Yeah.
what Iron Man is going to eat garbage? Like, they need to perform. So I think backpackers, and that's what most of my members have said, like, once they've changed that mindset and started eating better, they're like, oh my gosh, kind of like what I was saying. Once I started eating better, I feel better. I enjoy the trip more. I don't wake up in the morning hobbling. I call it hiker hobble. When you're like climbing out of the tent, barely getting around because you're so sore in the morning, that it makes a huge difference if you just take a little bit of time to think more about what food you're eating. And the thing that I've noticed too is so many people eat really healthy at home all week long, and then they just throw stuff in a backpack for the weekend, when like eating healthy is like a normal in their diet, a normal life. So
yeah. Well, I know I'm going to be getting on your website as soon as we get off of here and probably signing up. And I'm really not kidding, because I got a trip in a week and a half, and I've been dying trying to figure out what I'm going to eat for 3 days. So I'm going to try and take some of your stuff and figure out how I can augment bits and pieces of it to fit what I'm doing. So,
well, I offer a 15-minute consultation as soon as you sign up. So schedule one with me, and I'll go through the website with you, and we'll figure it out.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome. Well, okay, it is that time. We talked while the countdown video was going on. What a lot of people don't realize is we have the ability to chat back and forth while the countdown video is going on. We can still talk to each other, and you guys don't hear the conversations we have. But due to the fact that Erin is a licensed dietitian, she talks about poop all the time. And so when I mentioned talking about poop, she had no worries. So you've backpacked, you've been on trail. Do you have any good poop stories from the trail that you'd be willing to share with us?
Well, this is a lesson learned the hard way that I want to share with people, since we're talking about nutrition and things.
I love when it starts like that.
Yeah. So this goes back to my first couple days on the PCT, when I was so focused on getting all that fat in my diet, getting the food as light as possible. And I normally ate pretty healthy at home, a relatively low fat diet. Well, all that fat just ran right through me. And, in the middle of the desert, there aren't a lot of trees, and having diarrhea and trying to hide that. And yeah, it was a good time the first 3 days on trail.
There's like no place to like get sheltered so people don't see you.
Other than like a cactus or two. There's not at the beginning of the season. I mean, it's a busy trail. There's a lot of people out there, so you have to strategically plan, when am I going to go when nobody's around.
Oh my goodness, that's great. That is great. Listen, let's find out how people can find you, and let's throw some things up on the screen so people know if they're going to find you on Instagram.
Backcountry Foodie _ Backcountry _ Foodie, excuse me.
Fantastic. And you post on there quite a bit, I've noticed.
Yeah, I try to post almost every day.
That's fantastic. And then if they're on Facebook,
it's Backcountry Foodie.
Just Backcountry Foodie, all one word. And then if they're going to find you on your website, which is the important thing,
backcountryfoodie.com.
That's right. Go give this woman a living. Like, go buy her stuff. I think what you're doing, you deserve to buy yourself a new Mercedes next week. So let's get a bunch of people on here and let's get you hooked up.
It would take a lot of memberships to buy a Mercedes.
We're on the way. Don't worry.
Hey,
We're on
this
the
is the
way.
backpacking podcast. Millions upon millions of
Lot of
views
pull.
and listeners
Lot of
every
pull
week.
I'm not getting rich.
It's time to step it up, people. Let's get this woman a Mercedes. Aaron, it's been great having you on here. It's been
Yeah,
a
thanks
lot
for
of
having
fun.
me. It's fun. Yeah.
And we definitely want to get you back on here again. And I'm not kidding. I am going to sign up because this just looks beyond useful for what I'm looking for. So appreciate you, what you do, and all the work that you do. Jeremiah, do you have anything else you want to ask Aaron before we get signed out of here?
Not asked, but I will say it's been a pleasure talking to you. And I do think that you're providing some great resources out there for the backpacking community. And I do suggest everybody going to Backcountry Foodie, FOODIE.com.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. Aaron, if you don't mind hanging out in the green room, we'll catch up with you in just a second. And thank you again for being on here. You're just awesome. That's all I'm going to say. You're just awesome.
Thanks.
Jeremiah, that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, she was great to talk to, and I'm gonna have to check out more of her Instagram and see some of these delicious recipes. I do stand with the no cold soaking, but maybe she swayed me a little bit. Maybe I just been doing it wrong.
I think she made a lot of sense when she made the statement, "You don't cold soak foods that are meant to be hot."
Yeah, I
And I
don't, now
think
I feel
that's where
dumb.
I've always had pause with it.
Yes.
Because I'm always thinking, I don't want to cold soak this like freeze dried meal. Like this is supposed to be
No,
hot.
but if you were cold soaking pasta salad, then all of a sudden you're like, oh, wait, okay, now
It's
that
supposed to be
now
cold.
we can get
Yeah.
behind.
Well, and cold soaking like granola and stuff. I've done that. In the mornings, I've done that.
Yeah, and if you wanted to, you could cold soak and then change your mind and warm it up and have hot cereal granola.
There you go. There you go.
That
There's
sounds
all
delicious.
sorts of great stuff in here. But
Yeah.
listen, I wanna go ahead and throw some of these comments out because we missed some of these. Stoney was on here earlier, and he said, "Hey guys, for anyone who knows me personally, I'm officially on the AT at Hiawassee tomorrow. We know some of the same folks. Thanks for letting me chime in. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool." Spencer Davis said, "I would love a Kentuckian's ultralight biscuits and gravy recipe."
Oh,
That would be good, wouldn't it? If you
I
can get
would
an
love one
ultralight
too.
one.
Yes. With delicious real biscuits like Peak Refill uses.
Yeah. Riff Outdoors said, "Is this a female Darwin?" I think it was due to the couscous comment from earlier.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, because he's all about the couscous.
Yeah, he loves the couscous.
Steve Wright said, "Gravity hates tall people."
Yes, it does. It drags me down every day.
And then Spencer, when I put the comment about you said something sucks, what's your rebut? Spencer Davis goes, "I can't believe JK just said that out loud." If you're gonna post it, man, you risk it. Like if you're gonna put a comment in our board, it's probably gonna get up there at some point. Hey, we got some really cool stuff coming up on the Backpacking Podcast. Got some great guests that are getting ready to be on here. I'm pulling up our calendar right now, and it's looking like next week we have Glenn Van Pesky on here, which I'm personally excited about that one. The founder of Gossamer Gear.
Yeah, dude. I'm sure he's going to teach us a lot about the we've been dabbling in the ultralight world a little bit here with the last couple of guests. We got Backcountry Foodie, who's an ultralighter, and then Glenn Van Pesky, which of course his whole mission was to go ultralight. Well, I'm sure we'll go through his whole story, but
Oh, and this book, as I just about knock everything over, this book right here,
yeah,
Take Less, Do More. This I think releases next week, doesn't it?
Yeah, I believe it's releasing on or the day after we have our live stream, which will be next Monday, the 15th.
So real excited to have Glenn on here to talk about his book, to talk about his life. What an awesome guy. And then the week after that, he was commenting tonight, Moondog Roop. Moondog Roop. I'm excited about that one. What a unique take on backpacking.
Oh yeah, the skate packing.
Skate packing. Skateboard and backpacking combined. That just seems like a lot of fun. And then the week after that, our good friend Carl Mandrioli from the Backpacking and Blisters podcast is going to be on here, and we're going to be sharing some of the adventures that he and I are going to have together with about 17 people in the Red River Gorge. So that should be a good time. Man, I'll tell you what, Aaron was awesome tonight, and I wasn't joking. I am literally going to put money into that because, I mean, wow, what a resource. Just if you're somebody like me who has struggled with weight, you've struggled with your nutrition, and you've got a 6 and a 7-year-old, and all they want to eat are chicken nuggets and French fries, and you've got to try and eat healthy and convince them to, uh, this is just a great resource. So I definitely say you may not spend the money on it when you check it out, but please go check it out. I think what she's doing is fantastic, and we want to get her a Mercedes. So we got to make that happen, man. We got to make that happen. A big thank you to Outdoor Vitals for being our title sponsor for the season. Again, Outdoor Vitals, live ultra light. Check them out at outdoorvitals.com. For myself and for Jeremiah, we will catch you guys on the next one.
Yeah, adios, folks.